sitting here thinking about words and how they have the ability to shapeshift into a polar opposite. Third at the top of my list today that I want to deep dive in is minority. I'm going to read y'all the standard definition for minority. The smaller number or part, especially a number that is less than half the whole number. I really feel that that's in the reverse. The real minority is the 1 to 3%. They are the smaller in the numbers. It may be even the 5% of individuals who are currently legally deemed through stratification, mentally, emotionally, financially capable to not be placed with the stigma of being a minority. So the second definition for minority is the state or period of being under the age of full legal responsibility. So when you hear the term under the age of full legal responsibility, what it does is it makes me think of a juvenile. Mentally, the term minority, it states that even as an adult, you are technically insane, incapable, and it takes me to the realization of why there is a large number of incapacitation. Now, incapacitation is a term utilized when someone is imprisoned. But if you look at the term incapacitation, it's also a word that's used when describing insanity. So if you think about the term minority, just simply adhering to that term minority, what it does is it imprisons the mind very early on. Many people who are technically placed in the category of being a minority, they aren't expected to excel but so much, which is why, if you think about it, the majority of the people who have these amazing testimonies on how they were able to overcome their poverty and find fame, for many it's temporary fame, they are able to find fame. It's usually through a few different portals, mostly are wrapped around sports, music, and possibly some acting. If you look at the trauma, the crime rate, drugs, mental health, at criminology, sociology, and psychology, they make up the reason why we are currently burdened with a high level of incapacitation stemming from falsely labeled stratification as well as social deviance, where there are many individuals who are improperly diagnosed with different mental health ailments, forced to operate within certain arenas while our mind is placed behind bars. From birth, there's many individuals who speak out openly about having the desire to pursue certain careers that's outside of the status quo, what people who are around them are currently pursuing. Usually they'll have someone that's around them that will diminish their desire to pursue this career instead of encouraging them to continue to dream big. I believe that there is so much wealth in the inner city. It just doesn't show up wrapped in the package that traditional society is used to. Stratification, the arrangement or classification of something into different groups. Now, to me, stratification is completely in alignment with race and racism. It separates different people based upon social constructs. The hardest part to consume is that there are people who are being placed in position to operate within certain arenas who aren't mentally qualified or capable to withstand the responsibility that comes along with that role. But because of stratification and the presence thereof in current and modern society, it hinders people who are mentally and emotionally capable of flourishing in many different diverse environments, while also transferring those roles to people who are less than or underqualified to withstand the responsibility of that role. Further research of these terms and how they are being placed and utilized to label an entire community needs to be further researched and placed in alignment to actually fit the community that it's being placed in. People in the inner city have been exposed to multiple different areas of trauma. One or more of their parents are out of the household. Someone around them that they loved as a child was taken to prison or was actively currently on drugs. They lost a family figure or supportive member to death. They didn't have emotional support as a young child. But just because an individual is exposed to these different type of arenas, does that mean that they are permanently placed in a state of being under the age of full legal responsibility? Does that mean that they are not able to face their adversities head on and achieve and endure, as well as rise up that social status ladder in arenas that is not solely wrapped around the industry or some type of entertainment arena? I always wondered why opportunity was limited to certain communities. It states that the inner city is basically minority. It's minority stricken. It's poverty stricken. So if you look at the definition of what minority means, it really shows that many people are judged from birth. They're not expected to flourish above the status quo. But if you are not expected to soar higher than the path that's set in front of you, when you actually reach those areas, they're not going to like it. Because at that point, you will be viewed as a threat to them. And when I say you will be viewed as a threat, it will be your mind that they will be threatened by. Because if you are able to be exposed to such traumatic environments while still being able to become resourceful and to build and to navigate, to have dreams, goals, and aspirations, that would mean that the ones who are being placed in position, who are underqualified for the role that they are given, will become threatened by you because they know mentally they are not able to withstand not a small portion of the things that you had to endure. If you look at the allegedly minority, poverty-stricken communities, there's a high drug rate. There's a high crime rate. Many people utilize tobacco. Plenty alcoholics are coming out of the inner city. See, these things are placed in these communities to calcify the mind. If you are exposed to this high level of traumatic experiences, the status quo says that most likely you will become incapacitated, you will die young, or you will catch cancer or some type of other life-threatening disease because you're low frequency. You're operating in a low vibration mentally. One, because you're currently being actively using drugs. You're not following up with medical appointments. Your exercise level are probably extremely low. Your diet is poor because your finances are low. See, when you think about it, you can get a cheeseburger for $1, but for a piece of fruit, you're going to pay $4.99 a pound. You could get a soda pop for $1.50, but you can pay $8 for a healthy drink. Looking at this word minority in my journal, it brings awareness to why there's such a large amount of incapacitation in the inner city. Not only is the inner city incapacitated mentally, they're incapacitated physically. So not their bodies is placed in prison, their mind is placed in prison. The area that they exist in, it's the state or period of being under the age of full legal responsibility. So if you are viewed as mentally incapable to withstand any type of major opportunities, that would mean that many people are currently mentally insane. If the minorities are technically viewed as dependents and opportunity is restricted, they're technically underdeveloped into the full age of legal responsibility. I feel that further research into the underdevelopment of many people. So technically, this definition is stating that even though an adult may reach 20 or 30 years of age, mentally, they stop developing into an age that's under legal responsibility. Why is there a lack of mental health awareness programs going on in the inner city to not only address these issues, but to rectify them and to see what changes can be enforced to halt this issue from further happening in the future without separating and breaking up natural families? There has to be a way that we can come together, research the minds of the individuals, and create a solid plan that will address these mental health issues, that will create paths for people to begin developing. If you look at the definition, they have to be aware. For them to place that label over the inner city, they must be aware that many of the individuals in the inner city, they call them minorities because they realize that they stopped developing at a very early age. So it will be nothing really shy of a miracle that will deliver the incapacitation of the mind.